Hello automators, thanks for tuning in to our monthly unboxing and showcase of the best smart home tech on the planet. Let's get right into it. I got something special here. First things first, I have peanuts. We got the SwitchBot Hub 2. Now this is the newest hub from SwitchBot. Looks quite different from their other hubs, and it's a Matter compatible hub. Now most SwitchBot products use Bluetooth, and so this is going to bridge that gap over to Matter with all of SwitchBot's products. But it's gonna take a little while, so don't go into this one, don't go buying this one expecting day one everything you have is going to become Matter compatible. But I think what's really important with this new hub from SwitchBot is that it's going to make pretty much everything in their lineup HomeKit compatible as that Matter compatibility comes. Here's what you get in the box. You get a USB cable, USB-A to USB-C. You get a power adapter, obviously USB-A. Then you get some help card if you need any help, and a user manual. Plus you get a couple of 3M stickers, and then you get the hub itself. Now I just wanted to give you a couple of comparisons for size and for differences. So here's the SwitchBot Hub Mini that most of you will have. Really, it's the same size of device, just with that display there. And even with the Meter 2 here, you can see it's basically the same size. So SwitchBot's getting very consistent with their designs. This does feel a little nicer. It looks a little more refined, I think, because SwitchBot's expecting more people to have this out in their home versus something like this little mini hub. Now the hub actually flips out a little bit, and that's because it's a stand. It can actually sit like this, and the USB-C port is on the inside there. So we're all plugged in. This is the temperature and humidity sensor. You can see the little holes in that. It's got some sticky tape to make sure you can kind of get that mounted and keep it sitting flush. And then on top of that, right away, you're seeing the humidity on here, plus the temperature. The other thing is, I'm pretty sure these two buttons at the bottom can be changed into scenes or executing scenes in SwitchBot's app, which means it's not just on off for this display. Maybe you could continue to do that, but you can control other SwitchBot devices a lot like their remote, which, you know, that's actually a pretty powerful little device because you can control things like your curtains and your blinds and the SwitchBot bot. This really becomes the controller that you're going to want from SwitchBot now. The other thing that's kind of special with any of SwitchBot's hubs is that they have an IR controller built into them. You've got IR on your remotes around your home. You can control your television. If this is sitting looking towards your television, you're going to be able to control that. And I'm excited to get that Matter support. The first thing that's going to come with Matter support here is SwitchBot's curtain, and then they're going to quickly roll it out to lots of their other products over the year. The one thing that a lot of you are probably going to ask is this a Matter over Thread bridge? That answer is no, but it is Matter bridge for all of SwitchBot's products. SwitchBot's Hub 2 is a natural next step for this company, and I'm excited to see how this progresses because this hub is going to gain new features, and the existing ones are great already. It's the best hub from them, period, and yet it's much more than a hub. There are 3 sensors that you can automate with, an IR blaster with double the range of the mini hub, 2 buttons on this device that can run SwitchBot scenes, and an LED display that's pretty configurable. But it's not just those things that make this great. There are a lot of details that have been put into this device. The IR blaster is way better than anything they've done before. It can reach really far, and it doesn't seem to matter which way I face the hub because it has a number of IR emitters. The 3 sensors are accurate because they've been placed in the right location, with the temperature and humidity being on the cable and the illumination being a part of the physical hub. The 2 buttons on the screen work really well to execute actions, and I like that I can turn off the sound so I don't have to hear the loud beep. The LED screen isn't perfect, although it does look really nice most of the time. It doesn't fully turn off even if your room is really dark. Now it does darken quite a bit, but I wish I could schedule that or automate that part of the device. But let's get to the big thing. The big point of the Hub 2 is that it's a Matter bridge. It's currently a beta feature, but it was easy to connect my blind tilt and curtains with Apple HomeKit using it. Sadly, you can't bring in other SwitchBot products into Matter yet, but we know the bot and lock will be added to the bridge feature. Although there's a maximum of 6 devices you can add to the Hub as a Matter bridge, that doesn't stop you from adding other products to the Hub for basic control. And it does sound like we might get up to 8 devices for that bridge. Also, you can group blinds or curtains together in order to get more devices into that bridge. There's one thing that's sad about the Hub 2 today. It's because Google, Amazon, and SmartThings still aren't ready for Matter bridges. But that'll come soon, and you can already integrate with those systems, so it doesn't matter. And yes, that was a pun. I don't know, guys. Somebody's gonna ask, oh, did you have the box? Yeah, I had the box. Did you show the box? Did you show the packaging? I'm gonna have to tell them, hey, we didn't guarantee you nothing. Come on. 6 hours later. Oh, I know what we got going on here. I did everything wrong, but I got a Govee nightlight. This was actually released in November from Govee, but it's a kid's light, and I thought it just looked absolutely amazing. Stuff's gotta go. Stuff's gotta go. All right. I throw everything this way now because I have stuff over here that I can't break. Now here's everything you get with the Govee nightlight. You get a little quick start guide. You get a begin your journey with Govee. Here's a full user manual, not that big. You get a fairly large adapter here. This is, it's 2 amps at 5 volts. Now you get a power cable, of course, and it is USB-C. And the reason it's USB-C is because it goes into this base plate, which tells you right on it, 5 volt DC, 2 amps. There's 4 pins. You can see right there, and that's gonna go into the bottom of this speaker. Where and how? Like the bottom of that speaker, yeah, that looks pretty different, doesn't it? There's also like a Bluetooth button on the bottom and a light button, and then there's a reset pin. There's a lot going on this. Plus there's play, volume down, volume up, and then a music mode. Plus on the back, it looks like a power button. And the cloth absolutely looks fantastic. And I mean, really, what this reminds me of, did you guys ever watch Dinosaurs?
We feel the same way about this little egg as we felt about Robbie and you.
Like that, is that not a dinosaur egg from that show? The bottom of the plate also, you know, it's got these little pads here that's gonna hold it fairly steady. I like that. And you're just gonna go put your little egg speaker nightlight. Ooh. I don't know what I expected pressing the power button there. I pushed the button in the middle. Oh my goodness. Look at this, guys. It's not exactly rocking out. Oh right, this is for kids, not for me. It's actually pretty loud. Like, it's, you know, it's not gonna blow you away or anything, but it's a white noise machine. Now here's the test. It's been plugged in for like a minute. Yeah, would you look at that? Govee's little egg of a nightlight has been one of my personal favorites when it comes to smart lamps. The control on device is great as the buttons let you customize the sound and visual experience entirely. The effects are fantastic, and this small form factor really allows a lot of those effects to shine through. There are even little games that you can play. And the device can be both dim and subtle, or really powerful and really bright. The battery is small and it won't run forever off of the base. I have found that it runs out over an evening of heavy use and a couple of days of just idly sitting off the battery charging base. But this is a perfect gift for anyone with a toddler. It's a perfect noise machine, and they don't even have to connect it to the app if they don't like that aspect of it. It never gets hot either, so it's not gonna hurt anyone. The integration with Amazon is something that Govee continues to nail, as you can choose from just about every effect in the Govee app in their routines. Google integration allows a similar thing, although you have to do it with custom commands in your routines there, as the Google Assistant is the only thing that can access those special effects. As I said, this has been one of my personal favorites since I received it, and I can't wait to give it to a family member of mine with a toddler. The only question is if I'll have to pick up another just to have one for my bedtime. Double wrapping. You know, you love it when you get a bag and then, I mean, this tape. This tape is the bane of my existence. Here is the Smart Video Doorbell G4 from Aqara. Now this is a HomeKit compatible, HomeKit secure video compatible video doorbell from Aqara. It has its own chime. This is a super exciting product this year. Here's what you get with the G4. Number one, a user manual. Number two, you get a couple of sets of mounting hardware, some really tiny screws, and then kind of your proper mounting hardware. You get an angle mount for the whole thing, which is pretty normal to get with these kinds of devices. You get a USB cable, so there's USB-A to USB-C, and then you get a tiny little screwdriver. Then you get a chime. It has a USB-C port, a HomeKit code, and a micro SD card slot. That's up to, I think, 512 gigabytes of storage space that you can put there. And then we have the big old camera video doorbell itself. That is a large button. Let's listen. I don't know, that's a different one. It's kind of fun. It's really fun. I'm really enjoying this. Now my phone's actually connecting to this.
Wi-Fi connecting. Please wait.
Device connected to the network. Let's have a look. Are we done yet?
The account is bound successfully. Welcome aboard.
So fast. Honestly, that's one of the best things about Aqara. That was so fast how it connected everything together. So on the front here, right up at the top, you can see there's a little microphone port, and then the next thing down from that is actually an illumination sensor. So this has the ability to tell you how bright it is outside and make adjustments, obviously, on that. Then we have the lens, which, you know, that's pretty obvious, and there are night vision IR lights on this around here. Plus, this little bump is a motion or a PIR sensor. So you have all of that just on the front. Now, this is the push button. We've heard that. And there is, I think, an illumination ring that goes around that. So the presser is going to get a visual indication of that. Now, in order to take the back plate off, I have to unscrew that, and that's a great little security feature. Not something I've seen other makers do, especially not kind of hiding it in a little compartment here. So I'm just gonna take that off. Now here's how it looks inside this video doorbell, and probably the first thing you're gonna notice is we got a few spots for batteries here. Now this can be wired in, or it's a high compatibility device, and you can see the two screws there for your existing wires where your doorbell is. But these 6 batteries here, that is what's going to make it compatible with Apple HomeKit and HomeKit Secure Video. Those, you have to have a lot of power to be able to provide the frames per second that's necessary for that. And that's actually something that has caught a lot of video doorbell makers. So I've set up this device. It took seconds to get this installed. And this isn't even powered on, and yet I'm still set up in the app. So I got a little bit to figure out there, but this little button actually can factory reset the device. You can press it like 10 times, it fully factory resets it, and then you can turn on or off the alarm bell sound just by a single press. You're still gonna need this no matter what, but you can turn it off as a chime if it's not fitting with the rest of your home. Lots of us use smart speakers and the like for that. The Aqara G4 is the Automator's video doorbell. It joins a massive series of Aqara products and integrations that makes it completely unique versus competitors. The automation options in the Aqara app are massive, and they are useful too. You can start Amazon and Google routines with a doorbell press, and the doorbell works with HomeKit speakers. It'll gain Matter compatibility when doorbells are added to that specification too, so its integration features are amazing and gonna get better. The footage looks good in the daytime and in good light in the evenings. At nighttime, it's a little bit difficult to make out faces, but this is the case with most video doorbells on the market today, so it's in good company. But it's not that useful for identifying people at night. The good news is you can use all of those great automation features to make sure that your porch is lit up before someone comes up to your home, because this does recognition of motion through a PIR sensor on board. That sensor catches people 15 to 20 feet away consistently and would allow you to automate this night vision issue away. I found the motion recognition to be too sensitive in a lot of cases, and I had to use the very comprehensive settings on the G4 to eliminate a lot of inaccurate notifications from things like steam coming off of my home. After a bit of playing, I was able to get this right for my situation, and I think everyone will be able to do that too. Plus, the facial recognition is very good, and with those automation options being so comprehensive, you can do things like have specialized greetings per recognized face. Plus, you can have a different audio recording play out of the chime when someone you know walks up to the home. The device can be wired in to use the chime in your home, or you can use a very loud chime that they've included with the device. Plus, you can use all of the different smart speakers from Apple, Google, and Amazon as a chime in your home. And through Amazon Smart Displays, you can actually answer the door and communicate through those, as well as with Fire TV. The overall audio quality is really good when you're speaking through the G4 doorbell on both sides of the conversation, and I wasn't experiencing long delays in those kinds of conversations with people, so communication was easy and effective. And not only does this doorbell come with free 7-day cloud storage, but the chime doubles as a local storage solution when you add a micro SD card up to 512 gigabytes. In the future, Aqara has promised NAS storage options too, so at just over $100 US, this doorbell can leave a lot of others in the dust. That's especially true when you consider how much you normally spend on subscriptions with video doorbells. But it's impossible for me to give you all of the details on this. So what we did is we created a comparison of 4 of the biggest models available today. You can watch that after today's video through the links below. This is the Hubitat Elevation C8. Here's what you get in the box. You get a little QR code to get you started. You get a power adapter. It's just a USB-A, and then you have a USB-A to USB-C connector that will go into the hub itself. Now the hub has a couple of pins on it, you can see there, and that's because we have some external radios on this one. The other thing you're gonna get is an Ethernet cable, because this is a hub that you do wire in. Right there you can see the Ethernet cable, and right there you can see the power. This is going to be a Matter and a Thread, a Matter over Thread hub. The Z-Wave specification on Hubitat C8 is Z-Wave Series 800, and I think that's the first hub I've ever heard with that on it. Why that's so important is because that includes Z-Wave long range. Now, there's no products out there today that are gonna work with Z-Wave long range, or at least I don't know any, but somebody had to take the leap, and that specification I think actually could be the saving grace of Z-Wave products in general, because that's gonna bring it up to a range a lot like LoRa, or what Yolink uses in their hub and their products. It's alive. Let me get this out of the way. Oh, yeah. So I've plugged in everything I can, and it's time to get this set up and working. I actually get to use their migration tool, which allows you to transfer very quickly from the C5 to the C8. I did want to show the difference between these hubs. Now this is my C5 and this is the C8. And physically, there's really no difference in dimensions, but obviously with these antennas, you're gonna be able to deploy them in a few different angles, but that will change how you can store these. I don't think that's gonna affect a lot of people, but I wanted to show you because unfortunately size does matter. Hubitat's C8 hub is the pinnacle of what this company has done so far. It enters a fairly mature automation platform with great Zigbee and Z-Wave compatibility. It also connects with most platforms you'll want it to connect to, and it controls all of the connected devices locally. It has HomeKit compatibility through a beta, Google, Amazon, Sonos, Hue, and many more integrations that you can use to do all kinds of things. Hubitat allows the creation of virtual devices that are so important to make deep automations across systems, and it's all really easy to do everything through the apps page in the Hubitat portal. The C8 will add Matter and Thread later this year, but one thing I did really enjoy was migrating an older hub to this new one. It was as simple as creating a backup of the old hub and restoring that on the new hub. But the most important thing about Hubitat is something that hasn't changed with this new version of their hub. It still has the same automation engine behind it, which is so powerful and yet fairly easy to use to create very complex automations. It's this system that drives all of the worth into Hubitat's offering, and the C8 is really just capitalizing on the next evolution of the smart home. This is a hub that's going to join my list of recommended hubs going forward. And while the dashboard feature is way behind the rest of the industry and the app still needs huge improvements, this hub is still one of the best, and is especially so for the price you will spend building your smart home with it. Here is the Deebot X1 Omni. Now this is a huge base station combined with a robot vacuum and a mop. Let's get it opened up. All-in-one robotic vacuum and mopping cleaner. And the base station is just wild looking. Plus, actually, I've seen a couple of different models of this. The robot itself looks pretty wild. There's a voice assistant on this. I don't understand that at all, but that's gonna be exciting to try. Couple of things I'm noticing right away: 5,000 pascals of suction power.
It certainly does suck.
That is, I think, the most I've seen on any robot vacuum. Now it does look like it's using cameras, which, you know what, we're gonna have to talk about, see what we like about that, what we don't like. Now just like a lot of these, you're getting a couple of different components. So you can see you're getting the robot vacuum itself in this box. And then this, whoa, I'm even getting instructions for how to take out the station. Ugh. You take out the base station as shown. Holy smokes. So that's it. This is the whole thing we're getting in this box. We got the Deebot, and then have a look right there. We got a base station. Oh, baby. Now there's a little open tab here. Oh my goodness. Couple things I like right off the bat. Here you go, dirty water. Okay, easy enough. Pull that out, you know, open these latches, and then you're gonna pour that out. And I gotta tell you, these things, when they pick up the stuff on your floor, you cannot believe the smell that comes out of those.
What is that smell? Oh.
That's the smell of desire, my lady.
But the other thing I like is right here. So this is the clean water tank. I can pull that out if I'd like. I can fill it up manually. But look at this little cap. You just open it up and there you go. You can fill right here. You could just pour something right in there. Obviously you don't want to be spilling a ton, but you could get a funnel or something, put it in there. You don't even need to take that out. That's a good thought because these can get quite heavy and I'm sure some people struggle with that. Now what is this? Let's get into this. All right, Oh. Toothbrush for giants. I mean, no, seriously, look at this. I don't know what this is for. Ooh. There it goes, snaps back in. Now what do we got here? Ooh, oh, these are my, look at that. There's my mopping pads. Those are pretty nice. They're a little rougher than I felt with some of them. Now here's down in the base station. Always kind of neat to look in something like this. You can see the little ports. There's obviously some connectors right there, I think, to charge. The one thing I'll say about this is not a removable base. So if it does get dirty in here, you might have to get in with a cloth. Nothing necessarily that's gonna ruin your day, but it could take you a few minutes to get in there. And that's one of the nice things that was with Narwhal. You could remove that, pull it out, just run it underwater. All right, let's get in to the vacuum itself. There we go. And the big reveal. Oh, here are my two mopping pads. You can see they have a little plastic attachment. And then, yeah, that's just a little bit of Velcro on there. And this actually works really well. Here's the cable, which I'm gonna show you in a second. They actually have done some really nice things on the base. And one thing I really like about this power cable is not only do we have the connector right here, but this is a full wrap. So you're gonna be able to wrap the cable around here as many times as you'd like before you go into the wall. And that's just on the back of the Deebot right here, the base station. And then we have our couple of sweepers. These are color-coded again. Now that was something I saw on Narwhal. Again, it seems to be a trend in the industry. I've got a vacuum bag. This right here means it's gonna auto empty into the base station, which I didn't know. And I didn't know because I haven't opened up the manual, which is fairly substantial. Should I bother opening that? Probably not. All right, now here's the robot vacuum itself. Bit tippy. That's a technical term, tippy. Woo! Forgot to lock my table. To me, this looks like it has the most sensors of anything I have seen to date. There's LiDAR on the top here, and then on top of that, there seems to be cameras in the front, plus different sensors all around this device. I don't want to put that on my table because I'll probably scratch it, but these are giant wheels. I've taken this off. You can see that goes back on. It's a little bit of a magnetic attachment, so you're not gonna have any troubles with that. That's a really nice touch there. Now I have a little container. There it is. And it's got a little filter in it. This is pretty standard in terms of today's robot vacuums. There you go. It's gonna be an easy replacement when you need to. Now, this is fairly small, but I don't think that's gonna matter at all. There's this vacuum bag right here that's gonna go somewhere in the base station. There's also obviously the power, and there's a Wi-Fi indicator right here. We could put in our mops and our brushes now. So we'll just snap that in. There you go, super simple. Yep. And then our mops, they're just gonna go in right here. And actually that's another magnetic component. Like I don't even have to push. They're just staying in. And something else to always have a look at. It's a single roller brush. It looks like very good quality. We got the rubber in between here and then the soft bristles. Okay, I took a second look at this. This little sticker, we're just gonna peel this off. What I have is I have this little button on the underside that pops this open. So this little compartment, look how easy it is to pop it open, pull out, and then we've got a vacuum bag already in here. So in the future, you've got a backup when this one fills up and you're just gonna slide it in right here. And then this thing's gonna self-empty out of the vacuum into the base station. Having just tested the Narwhal Frio, this is a really easy comparison to make. The base station is huge, and it's so tall that I have to pull it out to fill up the clean water or take out the dirty water. The station is really nice to look at despite its size, but I will tell you that the vacuum itself will probably get a few scratches over time, and I find that the dust is really showing on the device too. Despite that, the point of a robot vacuum and mop is how it cleans, and I can tell you that from a vacuuming perspective, this beats Narwhal Frio, simply because it handles the big rug I have in my home a little bit better. The other reason that it beats Narwhal in vacuuming is because it can empty into the base station. Now, I promise you that you will be shocked when you hear the sound the first time it does that. You get used to it, and it really doesn't go on for very long. However, its mopping feature is not quite as good as Narwhal Frio. It's just not as effective at cleaning my floors that way, because it doesn't get along the edges. Nor does it seem to put enough pressure on the floor to get rid of some things. The mopping pads also feel a little lesser in terms of quality, but still, it's an effective mop that doesn't leave streaks. From a navigation perspective, X1 seems like it's getting stuck quite often, and I used to have this problem with other Deebot models. But the difference here is that the sensors and the camera takes over, and this thing never gets stuck. In fact, it will get every inch of your home except for those edges. Now, one thing that was really a problem with Narwhal was that I could only create a map for one floor. With the X1, I'm able to bring it to another floor and create up to 3 maps that are easy to switch between. Each area in your home can be divided or merged, renamed, and you can even add pieces of furniture in the 3D map. All that gives you access to issue commands to Yiko, the voice assistant on board the X1 Omni. And it's a surprisingly good voice assistant because I can ask it to do just about anything, including clean specific rooms or clean under specific pieces of furniture. I can also add suction power or change the mopping level, and there's much more. Now, while I understand this next thing from a programming perspective, it might frustrate a few people, so I gotta tell you. I have this large shag carpet that seems to be trouble for every robot vacuum, and it seems to be especially big trouble for units with mops. The X1 handled this better than Narwhal in my opinion, because as soon as I took the mopping pads off, which gets you a nice little audible notification,
Switch to vacuum mode.
the device switched to vacuum only mode and it behaved perfectly on that carpet. Sadly, before that, it didn't even clean on the carpet. So sadly, if you leave those pads on, it's probably not going to clean one of those larger carpets in your home. But the most amazing feature is the fact that I can voice call through the device in a drop-in sort of mode.
Not that bad.
There's no one who has to answer on the other side, and I can drive the robot vacuum around my home and see what it sees through its camera system. The camera is actually really good too, and as long as security is managed fairly well with a PIN code, and as long as network security is good, this is a really interesting option for a security camera. You can also set waypoints and have it patrol at certain times during the day, and then you get pictures of those patrols. So it's also a pet nanny. All in all, this is a pretty incredible device, and while it's not cheap at all, I am really happy to be able to recommend my first Ecovacs Deebot to you. Oh, I tell you, sometimes the smell when you open this stuff. Whew. Now this is a Zigbee 3.0, and it's a soil sensor. This is very interesting to me because I kill a lot of plants. You ready for everything you get in the box? Because it's a good one. You get this and you get this. Look at this thing. That is massive. It's got a little button on the back. It's got 3 poles. You can see that there's some rubber covers on those, and then you're just going to drive that into the soil. There is a compartment here for the batteries. This would allow me to get temperature and the humidity off of the device. Now the funny thing is, there was a number of models of this. This one is from a company called GIEX. This was the one that I thought looked the best out of all of them. Plus, with it being Zigbee 3.0 and it really just being a temperature and a humidity sensor, I feel like I can put this in a lot of hubs. So let's find out. This was a surprisingly good purchase. It was cheap and it does exactly what it says. It provides the humidity based off the soil and the temperature around your plants. And while it might not be perfect in terms of accuracy, this is going to give you the baseline that you need to decide on how to take care of your plants. If you just look at the measurements every day and look at the health of your plants, you're probably going to start to figure things out. But you can also set up automations in the Smart Life app based on either the temperature or the humidity. It was nice to be able to use a less than or greater than trigger, and now I'm going to get notifications when the soil gets a little too dry for these little plants I planted. Setup took almost no time because I have a Tuya Zigbee hub from before, which found it the first time I put the device into pairing mode. This is the same experience I keep having with this little hub and the Smart Life app. There are two problems with this though. It's big and it won't be able to go in a small pot. The other problem is the readings don't seem to go into any other application despite me being integrated with those other apps like Google and Amazon. So this is something I can recommend as it's cheap and works as it should. It has a lot of battery life and is simple and easy to use. Today I have the Eve door and window sensor. Of course, it's a door and a window sensor, but these things, you know, if you're not thinking creatively, then you might miss a lot of other ways you can use this kind of a product. Now, here's everything you get in the box. You get your little wireless safety message. You get your manual with the HomeKit code, the extra HomeKit code on it, and you get a connect to us on social media manual. You also get the actual sensor. It has a HomeKit code on it. It allows me to do the sounds of tech. You can see some little, well, let's call those speed bumps on the device there. They're holes. What's really crazy here is you get a half AA battery. I have never seen a half AA battery. So there you go, I just stuck it in there. Got a little red light on the device, and then this is my back plate for this. Here is the other half. So this is just a magnet. That's really all that's in this part. If you were struggling here to get this to work, you can actually clip a number of these together. Basically stick those together, and then you can get the depth right when these are sitting next to each other so that you get that exact right distance. So if your door is kind of different on one side versus the other because you got like a frame around it, this will really help you to make sure that the depth is right. You've got 5 of these little plates, and then you've got a flat one at the end. Lots of options for mounting this one. Here is the Onvis Smart Contact Sensor. Now this is a thread-based or Bluetooth low energy contact sensor that was just released by Onvis. Here's what you get in the box. You get your little user manual. You've got, this is a nice pin. And then you have the magnet component. In there is just a magnet. They give you a little marker on the one side so that you know how it's got to come together. Now the other half has a marker on it. It also has a HomeKit connection code. So this being a thread device, over time you should be able to use a lot of different thread border routers to connect this, but right now they're focused on that Apple HomeKit. As soon as I pull this, it should start to try to pair. So that's because there's a battery compartment in here. Let's open that up. Remind me how to do this in a few years when it runs out of batteries. All right. So I cut into it. Now I've got my 2 compartments. You can see that this is just a coin battery. So these are supposed to be spacers. I did read, it said it needed to be about 20 millimeters away in terms of a distance. That's always one of the big measurements that you make with contact sensors like this. You need to know how far away it's gonna trigger to be open or closed in terms of its status. The other really important thing about this sensor is that it uses both the Bluetooth and thread. So you could use Bluetooth right away. Otherwise, I think thread is gonna work really well, and that's what you're gonna wanna use with this. Although both of these are thread-based contact sensors and both of them appear to work exactly the same from a marketing standpoint, there are some pretty big differences that make me prefer one of these over the other. The Onvis sensor is a little difficult to calibrate on my door frame, and it means that I have to open the door further to get it to recognize the door as being opened. I tried to move the two components a little further apart, but unfortunately I couldn't get the calibration just right, and this is where the Eve contact sensor shows its true greatness. It's able to deal with the depth changes in my door frame versus the door, and I was able to get the distance exactly right such that my door, even opening a crack, would show the difference between open and closed. This is partly why the design is so tall with Eve, as it matches up the top of both parts to determine open or closed status. The other big difference is in the speed of response. As soon as the Eve contact sensor recognizes that the door is open, it sends the signal out, whereas the Onvis sensor takes about half a second before it sends out the signal to Apple HomeKit. And further to that, today the Onvis sensor can only send its signal to Apple HomeKit. The Eve door and window can be upgraded to Matter, which brings it into both Google and Samsung SmartThings, and in the future, Amazon. This makes automating all the better. Now, the final difference is that the Eve version is about $10 more, and it is on the expensive side when it comes to contact sensors. But in my opinion, it's going to be worth the extra expense if some of these differences don't change with Onvis. You'll have to evaluate which one of these makes sense for you if you're looking at a thread-based contact sensor. I feel like this is something from Wyze. Get that sense. I'm starting to know the names on the packages. People sending me oh. It is from Wyze. It's the Wyze Mesh Router, and this is a 2-pack of the Mesh Router. Now this is Wi-Fi 6. It's AX3000, so this is quite the upgrade. Honestly, that kind of speed is on the level of some of the top systems that I've had in my home. So this is pretty exciting. Now it says it supports 100 or more devices and up to 3,000 square feet of coverage, Wi-Fi bandwidth up to 3 gigabits per second. So let's see. I get my fancy I-backed Wyze Mesh Router sticker. Wyze is glad I'm here, and yeah, little setup guide. We get one mesh Wi-Fi router. We're gonna go through that in a minute. 2 mesh Wi-Fi routers. 1 power adapter for a mesh Wi-Fi router. 2 adapters for a mesh Wi-Fi router. And an Ethernet cable. And that's it. I gotta set this up. I gotta try this. Now, initially, when I saw these in the marketing material, I was kind of surprised at the size. Like, I didn't think they were very big, but this is actually a little bigger. It's a square here. It's a little wider than I thought it was gonna be. That's not a big deal with a mesh Wi-Fi router, though. The other thing, you know what? You've got these pads on the bottom. These are nice foot pads. They're gonna stick to any surface, and they are sticking. And you got a little bit of the FCC information on the bottom here, and on the top, they're actually telling you the bottom's gonna get quite warm. That's on purpose, but don't put it in an enclosed space, or really tiny enclosed space. So maybe don't put this, you know, in a panel or something like that. Now, they do have 2 Ethernet ports on the back, 1 gigabit per second on both ports. And then we have the power port and we have a reset button. And that's pretty much it. Now I like the little design notes kind of just angling a little bit on the side. Makes it look just a little bit different. And otherwise, there's not much to do here except try to replace my entire Wi-Fi network in minutes with Wyze. I've been very impressed with Wyze's mesh router pack and the coverage of my home with just 2 of their units. This is inexpensive. Setup was easy, and settings management has been fairly comprehensive, or at least more than I thought it was going to be when I first opened the devices. Most of my home is covered with 5 gigahertz and with potentially Wi-Fi 6, and I'm finding that the speeds are a little bit faster than what I was getting with Eero and my Nest Wi-Fi in most cases. Some devices are still stuck on 2.4 gigahertz, so I'm not getting full speed there, but what's even more important to someone like me with a smart home is that this is holding on to 65 smart home gadgets without dropping devices, and I am finding the whole network very stable, so I feel like I can really build out my home now. As I said, the settings are detailed enough for most people because you can reserve IP addresses inside of your own network. There are some DNS options, although limited, and you can rename all of the devices on your network. Plus, you can create groups of devices, and you can even block things if you don't recognize them on your list of network devices. However, to this time, the parental controls haven't worked for me, and I can't get a wired backhaul to work yet, despite following Wyze's instructions for that. One of the best settings was that I could actually split out whether I wanted my 2.4 and 5 gigahertz networks to have the same SSID or I wanted them to have different ones. So replacing your existing system is going to work just about every time with these. It also has a guest network feature that you can enable at any time if you'd like, and that allows you to just show guests a QR code that they can use to connect. So from an overall standpoint, this is a really good networking product for most smart home users. If you want advanced network management, you're not gonna get that, and people will in some cases think twice about getting network hardware from Wyze as they've had some security issues with their cameras in the past. But as far as I can tell, the hardware and the software seem like they are up to date with the latest security practices from a consumer level mesh system. And I will actually go forward and use this in my home, although I might get a third mesh point just to cover my home. But I do have the Shelly Gas. Now, I'm interested in this because I think this is a different kind of gas sensor than most of us are used to working with, and it's a very, very simple connection. Look at that. It is an LPG gas sensor. Now, that means that it'll give you a reading in percent of LEL. Now, what LEL means is lower explosive limit. So by the time you get to 100%, the gas could explode. This has alarms, I think it said 5%, plus or minus 5% sensitivity, and it will alarm at 10% LEL. So well before you're hitting that explosive state. Now what you get a little LPG version card, a little manual, you get a pin for reset, it's in there, and you get another connector in case you're somewhere else in the world. I don't know what I'll do with that, I never know. And you can see my connector's already connected. Now that comes off in about 1 second. There you go, that's it. On the back, it's giving you all of the specifications, and on the front, I would say it looks very, very nice. You can clearly see that this has a speaker on it. You're gonna see that it's connected up here in the top, and there is a button on here where you can push to test, which I guess we gotta do. So since I've plugged it in, it has sat here, it's gone through different colors. It's telling me basically I gotta connect to Wi-Fi and that it isn't connected to Wi-Fi at this moment. I can push here to do a quick test. Now, given what I've heard already, that's not the maximum siren or alarm sound coming out of this thing. If it is, it's maybe a little bit lower than some of you would want for a lower explosive limit. That's natural gas in your home leaking throughout your home, right? So you probably want to know about that one. I've enjoyed having this type of sensor in my home, and I think it's a really important type of sensor. You're gonna feel a little better when this is plugged in because it will detect if a natural gas leak has occurred in your home. So this is great to stick in any room with a natural gas joint, valve, or connection. Truly, the sensor doesn't need smart home connectivity to provide its primary function. It'll make noise when it reaches its lower explosive limit threshold, which is well below the point at which you could have an explosion. You can also create scenes in the Shelly app to take actions either when the Shelly sensor detects gas, or you can set a parts per million threshold. However, the device is less useful if you're looking for compatibility with Amazon, Google, or SmartThings. Those systems don't allow the device to show up or be used in automations, but you can use both Home Assistant or webhooks to make actions take place outside of the Shelly app. The other thing that might stop you with this one is if you want 2 devices in an outlet. This sensor pretty much takes up 2, so watch that before you buy it. All right, now there's some times where I don't know what I'm getting, and this one says Handfan bottle, health surpass, inventor of fan water bottle. Man, whoa! Look at this thing. What is going on? Where am I? Who am I? This is amazing. I totally get it. Like, I'm in. I like this one. Look at it's got a kill switch when you get any lower. Ready? Ready? I think I've got it all figured out here. You get a ton of stuff inside of this. Now, there's some really crazy stuff going on. Here's like the internal straw, and there's already a filter installed in this. It's a little, I think that's a carbon filter. Then I can put this back in, okay? And now I can attach this to the bottom, and now we've got a whole drinking mechanism. I've got an extra straw for later, and I've got a little cleaner. Wanna see? Huh? You know what I'm doing. Now you also get a carabiner in there, so we can attach that in case you wanted to put that on something. It's a little one, you might want to upgrade a little bit. Then you get a USB charging cable. It's USB-A to USB-C, and you get the extra filters. You get a little tiny card telling you something, I don't know. And then you have some different caps. Like, I think this is a replacement cap. No, it's an extra end cap. Yeah, it's extra. Look at that. So if you want it just to be a regular bottle, there you go. Even though it says Handfan, and I gotta say, the whole point of getting a Handfan bottle is that you get the Handfan. On the side of it, you have a little port for charging. And this instruction manual, they actually say you can clean this. Even the fan can be cleaned by water, tap water. Initially, I thought, okay, these lights on the top, those look to be the speed, and it said percentage, so I thought it was the speed of the fan, but it's not. It's actually the charging amount, so this came at about 75% of charge. Your straw is coming out the side. Now, I thought this would go on there. It does not. So you're gonna have to get right in there. But I really do actually like this bottle. This is a lot of fun. It's well designed, and it might not be, you know, smart home per se, but that sure is fun. So we've got our smart A19 LED bulb. This is a color version. They sell both. They sell like a temperature control version and a color version. So you don't just have to get the color one if you don't want that. You get a little quick start guide, and then I think all we're gonna get is the bulb and maybe one other piece of paper here. Now this bulb itself, it's pretty small. Like this is fairly short, right up the middle in terms of how heavy it is. So this is quite interesting. Now it says it'll do 2200 to 6500 Kelvin. So those are our colors. Woo. It's a 7.5 watt bulb. So that's the maximum it's gonna use, even though you can tell, like this is pretty bright. It's 800 lumens. And again, I'm expecting the Amazon app to just tell me that this one's been set up, hopefully soon. Yeah, I got it. Okay, now this one has been called Fifth Light. So we're gonna go into the app, and I gotta get this turned down. Do that for a minute. All right, so I found the controls here for Amazon's light bulb, and obviously I can control the brightness, 5th light to 1% brightness. I can also adjust the different colors and the temperature, so we could go to cool white if we'd like. You can see that changed right away. And then I have a number of colors, so let's throw in a blue. Kind of had a quick adjustment I saw into purple there for a frame or two. Let's go to green, yeah. 5th light to red. So again, the commands, when they're going through, and they're not going through all the time, I'm going to talk about that in a second, it's almost instantaneous. The Amazon Basics A19 smart bulb is exactly what you'd want it to be for a basic Wi-Fi smart bulb. Its color reproduction is only good in certain cases though. When you go between the different whites in the bulb, it actually becomes much brighter with certain settings and less bright with other settings. And then I noticed within the color reproduction, anything not a primary color, and especially a lighter looking color like pink versus red, the pink will end up looking almost white. And that kind of happens with turquoise and a few other colors as well. But for some of those primary colors and things like purple, the color reproduction is perfect and it's a really enjoyable look. The bulb itself never heats up, so it's really great that way. And in the Amazon application, from a routine standpoint, there's actually a lot of great controls from the action point of view. You can ramp up the brightness, you can ramp it up over time, or you can increase it or decrease it by 25%. You can obviously power on or off the bulb, but you also get a toggle option. And of course, you can turn on any of the colors. Now from the trigger standpoint, there's only 2 options when the bulb turns on or turns off, and we wouldn't expect a lot of options from Amazon on that side of things. But I still get the overall issue with this bulb where anytime I'm controlling it, it can go offline for just a few seconds. And of course, the biggest thing you need to think about with any smart bulb right now, if there's no Matter compatibility, and it doesn't look like there will be with this bulb, then you would be limited to just Amazon's voice assistant control. Natively, there's always going to be some workarounds. You know what? We had some amazing products released in 2022, and I thought it would be great to compile all of the best smart home tech into one video, just like this video today. You can check that out, it's up on screen. You'll be able to find a ton of products that are gonna work in your smart home this year and be the best thing you bring in because they've had some time on the market. Otherwise, thanks for watching today, and of course, don't hate, automate.